And SKOL, everyone. Welcome into the very first episode of Vikings Uncovered. I'm here to tell you everything I know, everything you need to know about everything that's purple and gold. So, without much further ado, let me introduce myself. I am the RabbitDad, as you can see from the ears. I love football. I love fantasy football. I like sports betting. And I love my rabbits. So, now let's get into the real fun stuff. Let's talk Vikings. I love watching that video. All right, so here we go. Vikings are 1-0. That's exciting. Let's talk about the defense from last week. We're just going to get right into the breakdown of the defense. The safeties are definitely the biggest point of the defense. They're the strongest in my opinion, the strongest set of safeties in the league. Harrison Smith, Cam Bynum, Josh Metellus. Each of them was in for 96% of the snaps on this past week as we totally stomped the Giants. Smith had 7 tackles. Bynum and Metellus each other 4 tackles, but they were in there for pretty much the whole game, more than anybody else on the defense. Like I said, 96% across the board. Stephon Gilmore led the corners in snap percentage. He was in there for 87% of the snaps. He had himself 4 tackles. Brian Murphy had himself another 9 tackles on the 79% of the snaps that he played. Shaquille Griffin was the third guy in the rotation there, 62% of the snaps. He had another 4 tackles. Overall, they played really solid, shutting down the Giants' wide receivers, but I don't think that's a whole lot of a surprise. But Brian Flores has put together a squad of unsung heroes here in the secondary of the Vikings that's going to be able to turn some heads. They're going to do better than bad. That's for sure. Let's move into the next position. This is the one I really want to talk about: is the linebackers and the defensive line, like all the guys who do all the rushing, play all that middle of the road stuff. Van Ginkel, he had that wonderful little pick six that was a blinking if you miss it. If you blink, you'll miss it play. Excuse me. Looked great out there. Ivan Pace also looks great again. Blake Cashman, the new guy, also from Eden Prairie, Minnesota, so hometown or home state boy. 89% of the snaps, 6 tackles, was solid and all over the field, doing his job. That's what we need from him every week. Dallas Turner had his first sack of his career. It looks really good after the first week of the season. Obviously, when you win like that in crazy good fashion, Krista, it was a stomping. I'll say it again. We got Harrison Phillips clogging up the middle of the field, 5 tackles, had a sack, batted down a pass. Jerry Tillery batted down another pass. Patrick Jones came out of nowhere with 4 tackles. 2 of them were sacks, and 2 other ones were behind the line of scrimmage. So basically, he hit somebody. It was a negative play. These are the kind of plays that we're going to continue to see from this squad that they make the running of the ball even more difficult. There's no huge name aside from maybe Harrison Phillips, who did just get that extension. 2 more years, $15 million, just over $13 million guaranteed. So he's locked in through 2026, and he's a great piece to build around on that line. We can just keep throwing in the guys like Jones and Tillery and everybody, and we'll have a solid defensive line, and we showed it last week against the Giants. Now, the one thing that I do possibly worry about is the depth at the defensive line. But like I said, it's going to be Phillips in the middle. It's going to be the other guys, Tillery, Jones, etc., filling on the ends, sometimes spelling him in the middle, spelling Phillips in the middle. And I still think it's going to be really good for stopping the run. I worry about the pressure rate they're going to be getting on the quarterback from those positional players, but that's why we got the guys like Van Ginkel and Turner and Cashman and Pace who can come around the ends or find that hole in the middle to sink through and smack the quarterback. But overall, great start by the defense for the Vikings in week 1. let's move into offense because that's what everybody loves about football. It's the offense. But I'm going to talk about the unsung heroes first, the offensive line. Darisaw, O'Neal, Brandel, Ingram, Bradbury. They all played the whole game. That's awesome because as Vikings fans know, it's not every day we get to see only 5 guys playing an offensive line. Typically, a lot of the times we see somebody step out, somebody gets hurt, somebody, was out of practice, whatever. Speaking of practice, the injury report for the offensive line, we had Ingram and Bradbury, who both were limited in the final Friday practice, so they're up in the air for Sunday. But hopefully they'll be in there, they'll play. If we need to, we've got a couple of guys that can spell them and give them some time off here and there. Moving on, quarterback, Sam Darnold. Believe in him. I'm not saying he's going to win the MVP or anything. I'm not saying he's going to throw for 5,000 yards and 50 touchdowns, but he had a solid game. He looked brilliant out there, 19 to 24, 208 yards, 2 touchdowns, 1 interception. Everybody throws picks. This was a good stat line. Especially with only 24 passes and he managed 208 yards on 19 completions. That was very efficient. I don't expect that efficiency every week from Darnold, but I do see him being able to put up an easy 220, 240 every single week, provided we don't run out the score against somebody and get way ahead and then you just run the ball and the clock down. But yeah, Sam Darnold, I was very happy with what I saw from him in week 1. I expect more of that. And this next challenge against the Niners will be a challenge, but we'll get into that in a little bit. Let's move on to running backs. Aaron Jones looked just as good as he did at the end of last season, where he ran for over 100 yards in each of the last 5 games. This week, got 94 rushing yards, but turned it into 109 with his receiving yards. So very good. And the touchdown, he was all gravy. Chandler, 8 carries, 17 yards. Not really efficient, but he was just there to spell him from time to time. He did, however, have 3 receptions for 25 yards. So he's more efficient in the passing game. But I think part of that was also the fact that they were up. I don't see the split being this much of a split between those 2 running backs week after week. This was more of we're way up. We don't need Jones to get hurt. We don't need to wear him down. Bring in Chandler more often and get him some more experience. His biggest weakness is his ability to pass block. He's not the greatest at it. It's going to be the thing that keeps him off the field more than anything else. But when he's on the field, he still has the ability to run. He's got burst. He's got good hands for a running back. He's a great supplemental running back to the Vikings to come in there behind Mr. Jones. Next up, wide receivers. And everybody's favorite number 1 wide receiver, JJ, Justin Jefferson, Jets, whatever you want to call him, he's awesome. He had 4 catches for 59 yards and a touchdown. Not a huge stat line, but again, it wasn't necessary. The Vikings were up by 2 scores for the majority of the second half, or the majority of the game, really. So there wasn't a need to keep throwing the ball. Addison had 3 catches for 35 yards. However, he's been listed as out. He will not play on Sunday. But that's going to open up the door for guys like Jalen Naylor, who had the 21-yard touchdown reception as his only reception week 1. We had Powell, who didn't see any targets last week either. But now that we have no Addison, it's likely that Powell will see some targets this week. He's also one of the primary kick or punt returners. So I'm saying Naylor probably steps in as number 2. Powell gets sprinkled in, and then I think Tristan Jackson probably gets some looks. I don't recall if they've called anybody up from the practice squad yet, but they did sign somebody to the practice squad, a guy named Jayshon Jones, I believe is the pronunciation, Jayshon. He, undrafted rookie from Maryland, just like old Stephon Diggs, if you remember, the Terrapins. So he comes in to the practice squad, and it could be a move with Jordan Addison out for some period of time. We're not exactly sure how long. We just know this week for sure, no Addison. So he might move up to the regular squad eventually, or they could bring up somebody else like Lucky Jackson, or like I said, Tristan Jackson could do or could step in because he looked really good during the preseason anyway. So moving on now to tight ends. Obviously, we still don't have TJ Hawkinson for at least 3 more games, and I would be surprised if he came back before Halloween. Honestly, there's no reason to rush him back. There's no reason for the Vikings to want him to rush him back. There's no reason for him to want to rush back. He just got paid last year. He wants to obviously continue to help the team, so he should wait. The Vikings should wait for him to be absolutely 100% before they put him back on the field. In the meantime, Josh Oliver and Johnny Munt are going to do the majority of the tight end roles, if you will. Josh Oliver is probably one of the most balanced and tight ends in the league, one of the better blocking tight ends as well, which is going to keep him on the field. And he's a solid pass catcher. He had 2 receptions, 27 yards. So nothing special, but Munt had more snaps. He had 53% of the snaps compared to 47 by Oliver. Munt caught 2 balls for 15 yards. So not as effective as Oliver's receptions. Same number. The snap percentage was right about the same. Not a lot of 2 tight end sets either. I think if I did my math correctly, it was 5% of the plays on offense were 2 tight end sets. So it also shows that we've got confidence in the offensive line to do their job if we don't need to throw 2 tight ends out there a whole lot. I'm not saying 5% is a tiny bit, but it's not a lot. So I don't see, it's probably not going to be a lot of times where both of those tight ends will be on the field. But, Munt's a fine pass catcher. Oliver's a good pass catcher. Oliver's a better blocker. I see Oliver as the better utilized tight end out of the 2. And a sneaky fantasy play if you're in a deeper league or you have tight end premium. Very sneaky tight end play in fantasy. Special teams, like I said, Brandon Powell, Myles Gaskin, those are the guys returning the ball whenever it gets returned. I still want to see more from this new kickoff thing in the NFL level. I saw it in the XFL. I loved it 2 years ago when I was watching it last year. But I think it's just going to be who's going to blink first? Which team is going to actually try and do something other than just kick it out of the back of the end zone because we don't want to give anybody a shot. Like, whatever. Somebody will eventually do that. I don't know who's going to be, what team, what player. In the meantime, Powell, Gaskin, run those duties in the back. The rookie kicker on special teams, Will Reichard, I believe it is. He was 4 for 4 for PATs, so perfect day. No field goals attempted. That's fine. Ryan Wright's still the guy doing the punts. I think he averaged 42 yards per punt on week 1. Solid day. Overall, Vikings did really well. Like we know, they beat the Giants handily. They only gave up 2 field goals in the whole game. They made Daniel Jones look like Daniel Jones. And I think there is a chance that they could be a really surprising, really competitive game this coming Sunday. So let's just talk about it. We're going to jump into it right now. Vikings versus 49ers. Let's recap the Niners from last week first, as they beat the Jets 32-17. It was not even that close. It felt more like a 40-5 or 6 game. It was not good. Aaron Rodgers looked pedestrian. I'll just say it nicely. He looked pedestrian. They didn't have CMC. The Niners didn't have CMC. That was a huge part, but it didn't matter because Jordan Mason came in and turned 28 yards into 147, or 28 carries into 147 yards and a touchdown. Looked wonderful out there. He looks scary for opposing defenses coming to try and stop him. He looked like he's the real deal. I don't think he'll be that successful against Minnesota, though. But let's finish talking. Let's go back. I'm getting ahead of myself. Let's go back to the rest of the breakdown. So there was no CMC, so that was why Mason got to shine. Debo, he also had a number of carries from the back. He had 8 carries, I believe. Ran in one for a touchdown. Purdy threw for 231 yards. Ayuk, 2 catches out of 5 targets for 58 receiving yards. Kittle, 4 catches out of 5 targets for 40 yards. Juszczyk, 2 catches out of the backfield. He's a sneaky man, that Kyle Juszczyk, one of my favorite players in the NFL, in all honesty. He's a fullback. He doesn't run the ball a lot, but he does get throwing the ball from time to time. Probably he'll get like 3 or 4 targets in a normal week. Problem is, he could turn one of those into something crazy. I've seen him take a mundane little screen pass and break one guy tackle, and it just turns into something, or he makes a move. I don't know how he still does it because he's not young. I've seen him break off 60-plus receiving yard plays. Again, love Kyle Juszczyk. If you're a betting person, I'd probably put the money on an anytime touchdown for him this coming week, to be honest. On the defensive side for the 49ers, the guys that need to watch out for, obviously Nick Bosa. Charvarius Ward is a very good, very capable defensive back. So he'll probably make it a little difficult for Jefferson, Naylor, whoever else is out on the wide receivers. And then Fred Warner, one of the best linebackers in the NFL today. Dude gets all over the field. He makes plays from every single play that he slots up, whether it's on the right, the strong side, the weak side, everywhere. He scares me. As a Vikings fan, it scares me to see Fred Warner on the other side on the defense when my team is trying to move the ball. So, like I was saying earlier, I believe this will be a very competitive game. I think a lot of people are leaning towards like blowout, like it's going to be 30-10 or something. I don't see that happening. I don't even see the spread getting covered. I think the spread was the over-under was 46.5. The spread was Niners -5. So I think the Vikings cover that spread. I think they hit the under on total points in the game. I don't think either team gets to 25 points. I'm going to say Niners squeak it out, maybe 24-20. It's my just bold prediction right there. Well, maybe not bold, but I hope I'm wrong. I hope the Vikings wipe the floor with the Niners. The Niners also have not won in Minnesota since 1992. So there's something to be aware of. Maybe it's just, I don't know, something in the water the Niners can't handle here. Who knows? I guess we're going to find out on Sunday. But before that, I would like to thank you for tuning in to the very first episode of Vikings Uncovered with me, RabbitDad. Thanks again for coming in. I will look forward to talking to you all next week. Have a good day and weekend.